Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. In Gaza, Israeli attacks killed at least 41 Palestinians over the past 24 hours as Israel's military announced a major new ground offensive. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said his forces will seize large areas of Gaza for so-called security zones. The announcement came as Palestinians face widespread food insecurity, with Israel's total blockade of the Gaza Strip continuing for a 31st day. On Tuesday, Gaza's residents were unable to find bread after all the territory's bakeries, including 25 run by the World Food Program, shut down operations.
I came here before dawn and went to all the bakeries in the area, but they were all closed. So I came back here in front of this bakery, hoping that God will bless us with bread. What can we do? Let them bring us flour and fuel. Why are they preventing us from getting them?
Hamas said in a statement, Gaza has reached a famine phase, calling it one of the worst humanitarian crises in modern history. An Israeli military agency that coordinates aid deliveries to Gaza wrote on social media Tuesday, quote, "There is enough food for a long period of time if Hamas lets the civilians have it," unquote. A UN spokesperson was asked about that claim.
Israel says there's still enough food that was delivered to Gaza during the ceasefire. What is the UN's response to that?
As far as the UN is concerned, that's ridiculous. I mean, we are at the tail end of our supplies, of the UN, of the supplies that came in through the humanitarian route. You know, WFP doesn't close its bakeries for fun. If there's no flour, if there's no cooking gas, the bakeries cannot open.
UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric. Elsewhere in Gaza, The Guardian reports some of the bodies of 15 Palestinian paramedics and rescue workers killed by Israeli forces and buried in a mass grave last month in Gaza were found with their hands or legs tied and had gunshot wounds to the head and chest. The Trump administration says it'll deploy a second aircraft carrier, the USS Carl Vinson, to the Middle East amidst U.S. airstrikes on Yemen that have killed over 60 people since March 15th. Overnight, U.S. attacks reportedly killed at least 4 people in Yemen's Hodeidah region. In related news, the White House says it's moving on from the scandal in which National Security Advisor Mike Waltz mistakenly shared plans to attack Yemen over the commercial messaging app Signal with Jeffrey Goldberg, editor-in-chief of The Atlantic.
As the president has made it very clear, Mike Waltz continues to be an important part of his national security team, and this case has been closed here at the White House as far as we are concerned. There have been steps made to ensure that something like that can obviously never happen again, and we're moving forward.
Meanwhile, the Washington Post reports members of President Donald Trump's National Security Council, including Mike Waltz, have conducted government business over personal Gmail accounts and another apparent violation of security protocols and federal records laws. A federal judge has ruled in favor of Mahmoud Khalil, allowing the Palestinian Columbia University student protest leader to challenge his detention and deportation in a New Jersey court. The order is seen as a victory for Khalil, as this is the second time a federal judge has denied the Trump administration's request to transfer the case to the state of Louisiana, where Khalil has been held at an ICE jail for nearly a month. His legal team continues to fight for his release. In a statement, Khalil's wife, Dr. Noor Abdallah, said, quote, "This is an important step towards securing Mahmoud's freedom, but there is still a lot more to be done. As the countdown to our son's birth begins and I inch closer and closer to my due date, I will continue to strongly advocate for Mahmoud's freedom and for his safe return home so he can be by my side to welcome our first child," she said. Unions from across the United States gathered for peaceful actions Tuesday outside more than 10 ICE jails nationwide, protesting the Trump administration's targeting of immigrant university students and faculty. The Service Employees International Union condemned the abduction of 2 of its members, including Tufts University graduate student Rumeysa Öztürk, by masked federal agents in broad daylight earlier this month. Öztürk is a lawful visa holder from Turkey. This is SEIU President April Verret.
What we know about Rumeysa, she holds a valid student visa. She also wrote an op-ed for her student newspaper not long ago in support of the Palestinian people, utilizing her First Amendment rights in this country to express her opinion, totally in keeping with the values that this country purports that it stands on, yet being taken away in handcuffs by men in masks and in hoodies. She's not the only SEIU member either. We know about our sister, Llewellyn, 64 years old, a lab tech in Washington State and member of Local 9 to 5. After living in this country 50 years, she's being detained by ICE.
In Germany, immigration authorities in Berlin are moving forward with the deportation of 4 young foreign residents over their involvement in Gaza solidarity protests. In a joint investigation, The Intercept and 972 magazine report the orders are set to take effect in less than a month. 3 of the protesters are citizens of the European Union, while none have been convicted of any crimes. Their cases are drawing comparisons to the Trump administration's use of deportation to target Palestinian rights protesters. Republicans will hold on to their narrow majority in the House of Representatives after winning a pair of special elections in Florida Tuesday. In Florida's 6th congressional district, Republican State Senator Randy Fine has defeated Democrat and public school teacher Josh Weil to claim the seat vacated when Trump appointed Michael Waltz as national security advisor. Weil dramatically increased Democrats' share of the vote in a district Trump won by over 30 points last November. Meanwhile, Republican Jimmy Patronis has defeated Democrat Gay Valamont to win an open seat for Florida's 1st congressional district in the Florida Panhandle. Valamont's share of the vote increased by 10 percentage points over the November election when she lost to far-right Republican Matt Gaetz, who would later be nominated by Trump as Attorney General, only to resign from Congress over a sex trafficking and drug scandal. Patronis is Florida's chief financial officer. He previously called for public funds to be used to pay for Trump's legal defenses in his 4 criminal cases. In Wisconsin, liberal judge Susan Crawford defeated the Trump-backed candidate Brett Schimmel on Tuesday to claim a pivotal Wisconsin Supreme Court seat, capping the most expensive judicial election in U.S. history. Crawford's election will have far-reaching impact on issues including abortion, voting rights, and congressional redistricting, which could change the balance of power in the U.S. House of Representatives, where Republicans hold a razor-thin majority. Judge Crawford overcame at least $25 million in spending by Elon Musk, the world's richest man, who told supporters at a town hall in Green Bay Sunday night that, quote, the entire destiny of humanity rested on electing Brad Schimmel. Crawford spoke to reporters after casting her ballot at a Madison polling station.
The involvement of Elon Musk specifically is something I did feel that I had to comment on, particularly when he started, engaging in shenanigans like paying voters to sign petitions and giving away $1 million to, obviously pre-selected people supporting my opponent. I don't think that's democratic for a billionaire to use his wealth in that way.
We'll go to Madison, Wisconsin, after headlines to talk about Tuesday's elections in Wisconsin and Florida. The Trump administration fired about 10,000 federal health workers across the Department of Health and Human Services Tuesday, gutting agencies tasked with protecting the nation's food and drug supplies and safeguarding public health. The cuts will affect the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Food and Drug Administration, the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, and several other health agencies. Overnight, entire research divisions and offices were eliminated. The White House says President Trump will unveil new tariffs on imported goods from a broad range of countries today, a date Trump has called Liberation Day. Ahead of Trump's announcement, Chinese state media reported leaders of Japan and South Korea had agreed to coordinate their response to any new tariffs with Beijing. Trump's trade war continues to rattle stock markets around the world. Over the weekend, the Wall Street giant Goldman Sachs raised its projected chance of a recession over the next year to 35%, up from its previous estimate of just 20%. New Jersey Democratic Senator Cory Booker's broken the record for the longest speech ever delivered in the U.S. Senate. Booker's 25-hour protest of President Trump and his policies surpassed Strom Thurmond's 1957 filibuster in defense of Jim Crow. Beginning Monday evening, stretching until late Tuesday, Booker repeatedly warned of Trump's attack on Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, his economic policies, mass deportations, the power of billionaires like Elon Musk, and more.
John Lewis, so many heroes before us would say that this is the time to stand up, to speak up. This is the time to get in some good trouble, to get into necessary trouble. I can't allow this body to continue without doing something different, speaking out. The threats to American people and American democracy are grave and urgent, and we all must do more.
Again, that was the New Jersey Senator Cory Booker. The Trump administration's withholding tens of millions of dollars from 9 Planned Parenthood state affiliates that provide contraceptives and other vital reproductive health care, predominantly to low-income and people of color. The providers received notices this week stating their Title X funding was being temporarily retained due to possible violations of Trump's policies against diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, efforts. Health and Human Services has given the providers, which operate dozens of clinics nationwide, including in Indiana and Kentucky, 10 days to comply with Trump's demands to eliminate DEI initiatives. In a letter, HHS pointed to mission statements and other public documents that highlight the clinic's, quote, commitment to Black communities, unquote, as supposed evidence of their noncompliance. Meanwhile, in a victory for reproductive rights, a federal judge has ruled Alabama cannot criminally prosecute individuals or health care providers that help pregnant people to travel out of state to obtain abortions. Alabama has a total abortion ban with no exceptions for rape or incest. This all comes as the U.S. Supreme Court is hearing arguments today in a case brought by South Carolina that seeks to expel Planned Parenthood clinics from its state Medicaid program. Those states are largely already prohibited from using Medicaid funds to provide abortions. Planned Parenthood says the move violates the Medicaid Act's free choice of provider provision. In more related news, the Trump administration's gutting U.S. aid for reproductive health and family planning programs in dozens of Global South nations. The move is expected to impact some 50 million women who will be cut off from contraceptive access. And federal prosecutors will seek the death penalty against Luigi Mangione, the 26-year-old suspect in the shooting death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi made the announcement Tuesday, describing Thompson's killing as, quote, an act of political violence, unquote. Mangione's lawyer said in a statement, quote, the Justice Department's move from the dysfunctional to the barbaric, unquote. Upon his return to office, President Trump vowed to resume federal executions after they were halted by the Biden administration. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman in New York, joined by Democracy Now!'s Juan Gonzalez in Chicago. Hi, Juan.
Hi, Amy, and welcome to all of our listeners and viewers across the country and around the world.